So it's your story is so unbelievable, as you know. Like everyone that hears your story goes, that can't be true. That they're making it up. Like so, every little piece of evidence that we can gather that shows your real husband and wife, parents, and because it's just so unbelievable. So the last video I did with you, Christine, you're hard to hear and you're hard to see, but now I can see both of you. Do you know? So it's just, and things like them not being able to see you or hear you just adds to the incredulity of things. So the more real you guys are to people, the more chance we have of people actually believing your incredible story.
Yeah, I mean, this, you know what? This is a story that I don't even think George Lucas could make up.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't fathom that I'll be here sitting here talking about this today, and we're going through this hell the last 3 years, right? I mean, I lost everything as a man. I lost my heart, which is my children, and especially my son. I mean, I don't know how much more pain I got to go through. But you know, except for Christian, we can do what we can go outside, we can do what we want. But my children are doing fine, especially my son. My son is getting punished for what happened to him, and, and you know what? It's almost like I take some blame because of us fighting for him. This is why he has to endure for the last 3 years. And you know what? If my son ever comes back, which I hope to God that he does, there's not enough stories out there to actually get my son.
There's no way you guys could have known. There's no way you could have known that. There's just no way. Like you're everyday folk who are good people, and this kind of evil and corruption on every single level where you guys were failed every single level of the system. Every like there's nowhere you went in the system where you got justice.
I mean, you're supposed to trust the schools. You're supposed to trust your local church, your priests, your guidance counselors, government. Well, we all know about government, but at least you're supposed to trust the teacher. You're supposed to trust a guidance counselor or someone. You're supposed to trust the police. And this is what we got. This is what we got from trying to help our son and trying to bring justice for him because of what this pedophile piece of crap did to my son. Right? And you know what? Make the best of it. They knew they knew what was going on. I even showed up the next day unannounced. But you know what? There were 7 police officers standing at the school door, and he was on the other side smirking at me. Smirking. The principal was smirking at me. And there were 7 police officers lined up at the door, wouldn't let me in. They wouldn't tell me anything. They had their hands on their guns. And I said, I know why you're here. I said, you're here to protect that piece of shit, right? That's behind those doors, right? And I said, I want to come up here. And I said, put my report in. And I said, to see what the hell's going on, to see what's going to be done about him. All that week we drove past there. I went up there a couple times. I had to get my kids' things and stuff like that when we took them out of school, like their extra clothes or whatever. And there was at least between 7 to 10 police officers there every day for a week in the school parking lot, right? Because they gave the community section, and I was probably some type of nutcase that was going to go up and blow up the school or whatever. But that's the thing. I walked away because I didn't want to. I didn't want this starting, especially all the children there and stuff like that, or whatever the case may be. Not the right place or time. But still, and all, it just proved to me that piece of shit was standing behind the other side of the door, smirking at me when the 7 police officers standing up in between us. So they knew he did something. While we called the police, I never gave him any notion I was even going to show up. Right? It was for his protection, not for mine, not for all the kids there, right? it was for his protection, right?
Do you guys know how long after that he was actually removed as principal from that school?
I don't know.
Mm.
I don't know. Actually, Chrissy probably discussed with you something that she knows that actually, what's the thing?
He's at right now. He wanted to keep anonymous. So
The gentleman that Chrissy probably discussed with you that is in that department, and he found out that he worked there, so he went to Chrissy and said, "Is this the guy?"
Yeah, he said I ran into him and I met him, and he said he gave me an eerie feeling, and he said I had to come to you right away and ask you, like, is this him? And in fact, it was.
Yeah, well, he's now on the website, on the Catholic School Board website.
Yeah.
Oh, is he?
Director of Learning. And when I phoned Brian Zumas, or I can't remember how to pronounce his last name, but he's the chief superintendent of the Calgary Catholic School Board. He refused to speak to me. He said it's still an ongoing investigation and he wouldn't be discussing it with outside parties.
It's still an investigation after 3 years.
You know, who knows, you know, that's just a soundbite that they do to put people off. But
Yeah.
okay, so you know, we've had so many questions. I you know, this call I wasn't actually prepared for it, necessarily asking them, but there are people who are asking good questions because there's just so many like bizarre details about this. Like I phoned an investigative journalist, and he actually said, which I think I told you guys before, he said that I would be targeted. He said that the only way I could get out of this alive is to handball it to someone who has a much higher profile. So someone they can't knock off without notice, right? What threats have you guys had? You guys are in fear of your life too. So can you, you know, let that be known as well?
So, you know, like you said, I've been basically in hiding for the last year and a half. You know, going back and forth to Newfoundland and stuff like that. I was in Newfoundland for over 7 or 8 months. And like you said, and I just repeat myself there because they told me. They told me, they said, "We're going to get you, Chris, and when we do, you're going to disappear." I mean,
So,
the day of the apprehension, pardon me?
you got to say that clearly. Your sound, for some reason, whatever, it's not the best, but just say that again very clearly so that people who are listening can actually hear that.
Well, I mean, if I was going to be here for my children at any in body and mind, I mean, I had to protect myself as regards going and hiding because they told me. I mean, when I was put in a vehicle on a routine stop one day, and that's for the human rights representative in the back of the car. And when they took me into their squad car on my car, they told me. They said if I had to sign the sheet, but they said we are going to get you, and you will disappear. Right? And I said, well, you know what? If I don't care what you do, but I said, I'm telling you something right now. I said I'm going to protect my children. I said with all my being. I don't care. So I signed some type of form. I didn't even need to read it because they wouldn't let me out of the car without signing, and they let me go. Right?
And is it true that you have a court case coming up that they haven't actually told you what the trial's for?
Yeah, October 31st. They said it's for harming a visiting supervisor from the shore community services.
But I thought a judge already threw that out.
This is another one.
This is another one.
Okay.
Basically, same thing.
Right.
Same thing. Right?
So they just keep trying.
Yeah, same thing, different day. And the lawyer that I did have, she took herself abruptly off the case. Well, I already knew anything. I just laughed when she told me. I said, yeah, well, whatever you got to do, right? And because she asked the Crown on 5 or 6 occasions that the police present the arrest sheet, the camera, audio, any body cam, and they won't present it.
They won't what?
They won't present it to.
They won't present it. Right.
No, no,
Right.
and I kept on saying to my lawyer, so what am I doing here? Why don't you just get it thrown out?
Yeah.
They have nothing. I said they have nothing. I said they can't prove nothing. So I was on the phone there 10 days ago with the judge that phoned me. It was about the lawyer getting off my case or whatever. So I had to agree to it. So I said, sure, whatever. And she said, are you going to get more counsel? I said, what's the sense? I said, you're going to do what you're going to do. Right? And she said, if you don't give me an answer, I'm putting on a warrant for your arrest. Right? I said, what's another one? Right? And she kept on saying, she said, I will put an arrest warrant out. And then I just gave her the spiel about, about the surety and stuff like that. I have the surety and what else I say?
Well, it's all about like the security interest.
The security interest and stuff like that, whatever. And she said, oh, that nonsense don't work here, she said.
So a surety bonds with like using common law or natural law.
Exactly, yeah. And she said, that don't work there, she said. And she said, if you keep that nonsense up, she said, I'll put a warrant out for that also.
A warrant out for you exercising your sovereign rights.
Exactly.
According to common and natural law.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But she started getting upset when I started doing the spiel.
Of course.
And then she said, so are you going to have counsel for October 31st? I said, what a coincidence. She's going to have it on Halloween. Yeah. So I said, she's going to have it on Halloween. I said, what a day. Right? And she said that if you don't have counsel, so I'm putting a warrant out. I said, that's my God-given right if I want to have counsel or not.
Yeah.
Right? And she kept on saying, are you or aren't you? Right? She said, oh, I'm going to put a warrant out. Right?
I wouldn't agree to anything.
I wouldn't agree to anything. Right?
So you're not sure if there's a warrant out for your arrest, is what you're saying?
I'm not sure. But
okay.
I know.
And just so I can reiterate for anyone listening who might be struggling a little bit with that Newfie accent.
I'm sorry.
No, don't worry. You don't apologize. So the judge is saying, if you don't get counsel, I'm going to put a warrant out for your arrest. I want you to know whether you're going to say.
Right.
So I am not familiar, with the law, but I would struggle to find a law that would say you had to tell a judge whether you're going to get counsel or she was legally allowed to send a warrant out for your arrest based on a decision. When you've been let down by counsel so many times, you guys have been impoverished because of this situation. So where are you going to come up with money? The government won't even give you assistance because of CPS, all that kind of stuff. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. Yep.
Okay.
Actually, it's really strange because I've never heard of, like we went to Alberta Works is what it is. So it's for people who are struggling. And when you fill out the information, then they have a worker come over and speak to you and just make sure everything is filled out correct. And they said, well, we have to make a call to Child and Family Services. And I'm like, I didn't put any dependents on here because what is the point? Because I don't have custody of the children. So I'd almost commit fraud because they're not in my care.
Yeah.
So claiming it to get more money, and I was like, well, why would you want to call Children's Services? Like, we're adults. We don't need Children's Services. And she said, well, your flag here, you have to call them. So between it all, we wouldn't agree upon that. So we weren't approved for that either. So they have a screen for everywhere. Can't get help from anywhere.
No.
Like everybody knows who we are. Like we can't breathe.
Let's say, what? I was going to assistance just to try to get a drug card because I'm a diabetic, right? And I have bad gout outbreaks and stuff like that or whatever. So I pay for all my medication. They didn't give me a drug card, nothing. Right? I'm getting a lot better. I was worse there probably about a year and a half ago. I mean, the doctor said to me, they said, you got to separate yourself from this. It was an actual, he was an actual legit doctor. And he said, Chris, you got to separate yourself from this. And he said, I'm going to see you in a fine box, he said, within a year. He said, stress level, he said, and your blood pressure is out of whack. He said, you know, you got to go. You got to go. And I said, well, you know what? I can't leave. He said, well, you have no. He said, you got to make a choice here, right? And well, he didn't really know about, you know, the extended story that you know the police are out and stuff like that. So I mean, it's a double whammy. So I had to make the choice to go. Right, separate myself for over 8 months, right, and I'm still doing it. Right. But now I'm not going anywhere. I'm willing to take the risk because I mean she has nobody. She has nobody protecting her. So if they're gonna get her, they're gonna get two of us, right? Yeah.
So Christine, you don't have to reveal any names, but you got a call earlier today from someone who basically is saying that all three of us are in danger.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the details without giving away her identity? Because I believe she doesn't want to be identified.
Yeah, she seemed legit to me because she had told me, she said, listen, if you don't want to further contact me, that's fine. Just say the word. If I don't hear back from you, that's fine. I'm not looking for a grandstand here. I'm just alerting you guys to know, like, to let you guys realize what you guys are dealing with. And to the extent and how deep down the wormhole, how serious it is, and it needs massive exposure to where she knew some pretty powerful contacts to get it exposed or in the state. So she was going to pass those along to you, but she wanted to see our faces first because she knows the extent of what these people are willing to do to remain anonymous and to remain to let this keep going. You know, they don't want to be exposed.
Mm.
So she's willing to pass those on, but she said the state is a lot more advanced when it comes to how deep this is. They said, yes, it's exposed in Canada and people are aware, but don't realize how much danger you're in. And they can make you disappear. And she had said it to me. She said, that's exactly what it is for your daughter. And she said, your children are in danger. They're in danger now.
So I spoke to a caseworker who used to work for the Justice Department, and then she went into casework. And I showed her, do you mind if I show a screenshot of that piece of paper that you sent me? This is a prospect. Is that all right? Okay, I'm just gonna screenshot that, share screen, so people can see this. So right here, beside your daughter's name, below on the piece of paper were you guys' names and description of each of you. But beside Lee's name, unfortunately, they got her gender wrong, and I blocked out her birthday, so no one needs to know that. But she's 18 now. She was 15 then. And they've written, this is a prospect. Now, I'm showing this because in the last video, I had lots of questions of people come up and say, what do you mean, prospect, project? Like, there were people who could not believe that they would write this on the file. So the caseworker I spoke to, she said, one, she has no idea. She's never seen it in all her years, what this is. She said, two, they're only meant to put factual things on there regarding the actual person in question. And she agreed. She said the only thing that she could think of was that it was what our fears were, that they were prospecting for trafficking. And she said, unfortunately, that's the only thing that I can think of. So, and I know, like, I know, but I can't I can't even fathom like how painful that is for you guys. But I also know there's a part of you that that's not news to you. You know what I mean? It's just you don't want to hear it, you don't want to know it. But in your gut, there's no way they could be doing all of these things, fantastical things to you guys for simply reporting a principal. Like,
You know what? We ask ourselves every day, what did we do wrong? How can we get into this deep? Right? I mean, I can't even believe how deep this is, how sick the system is. It blows my mind here.
yeah, yeah.
And now I'm at a stage here now. What's next? Am I ever going to see my children again? Am I ever going to hold my children again? I mean, my children were so good. They were so well-rounded children. Right? My little boy, my baby boy, my hand in the air, he wouldn't have, if he doesn't have an evil bone in his body. He's so gentle and innocent, you know. I mean, he used to stand outside on our deck. He used to watch all the snowflakes come down, and he used to touch the snowflakes, and he used to so tuned and watch the snowflakes, and even the leaves in the fall, and he's so fascinated with weather. And he's such an innocent little boy. And I don't know if I'm ever going to get that back ever again. When my girls, I don't know if I'll ever see him again.
So your daughter is aging out of the system. Is there any hope to seeing her, like, because once she's out, doesn't she have the ability to contact you guys?
Well, she had the ability. She had a cell phone and they took it on her. And they've been posing as my daughter.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. We found that out there a few days ago.
The last time I heard from her was in June on the phone, and she wouldn't write back. There was nothing. So I thought she was mad because she was, where she's older, she was privy to the whole court process, and it was also let out that it was severe child abuse, form of child abuse, to allow her when she was 15 to have the disclosure, the director's disclosure. And that caused her great pain and emotional injury throughout her time in care, where she questioned so many things because she couldn't understand. She said, Mom and Dad, you must have lied to me. Like, how come I didn't know all this was going on? And I because of how this didn't happen. And she said, Mom, I don't care. She said, I just love you guys. I promise you won't give up on us. So, after that, the trial, like I said, that she knew what went on every time we went to court. She was aware of all that. From her lawyer, they've given her an update on it. And I didn't hear from her, and I said she must be upset over the fact that we lost. So I gave her time so that I guess so she could accept it. I guess I don't know. And I never heard from her, and I decided to write her, and I wasn't hearing anything. And then she started writing, and I had the texts, but I know it wasn't her. You just know by the way that they write and how she writes, and
it was just tone, like, you know.
Yeah. And I asked her, said, "Are you safe? Are you guys okay? Are you together?" And she's like, "Mom, I just want you to focus on me." And and stuff. And then I said, well, I'm worried and I have no way of communicating with, Teegan and Owen. So I said, that's what you're for. She's always such a good big sissy and looked out for them.
Mm-hmm.
So I found that really odd for her to just be selfish, to say, just focus on me. But then it got into conversation about, Mom, are you tracking us? Do you know where we're to? That's a breach of privacy and that's against the law. And I was like, okay.
And whoever it was, they were press. Are you tracking it?
And they capped it. right? Like they were yelling at me, and I was like, this is strange. She said, like, you okay, right? And she said, Mom, you're not willing to answer the question. And I said, of course I'm not tracking you. How can I track you? And she just kept pressing. And I said, to me, it sounds, and I kept saying to her, can I phone you and just talk to you on the phone?
Yeah.
So I phoned her 9 times. And it kept going to her voicemail, which was her voice on it still. She said, Mom, I don't want to talk to you. And I said, that's strange. Like, why don't you want to talk to your mom? She said, I can't talk right now. And I don't really want to talk to you right now. And I said, I don't understand. So I kind of caught on to it because it kept pressing about whether I knew who they were and if I was tracking them. And I figured that was just Children's Services way of trying to trump up more charges to get a restraining order or to get like an emergency protection order or to have more charges pressed on us because that's what they do, right? So it's just put 2 and 2 together that, you know what, here they go again because it's starting to come out and be publicized, right? Starting to become public. So I figured, okay, well, if I'm ramping it up now, it's their turn. That's kind of the way it is. If you fight, they fight back first.
So when you guys are quiet, they don't go on the attack, but as soon as you make any noise, they come on the attack for you. They're just trying to silence you, break you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I always told him at meetings. I always told him. I said, listen. I said, you know what? You have something that is priceless to me. And I said, I guarantee you. I said, you know, I'm going to be a thorn in your side. I don't care what it takes. And I promised him, I said, no, I just said, no way. I said, I'm not bound down. I said, you sons of bitches. And I said, you know what? I'm going to fight for my last breath for my children. Right? I don't care. I don't care. I'm not backing away from this. Right? I'm not backing away from this. I mean, how many times? I mean, I just want to bury myself. But you know what? I cannot do knowing that my children are out there and God knows what's happening to them. Right? I can't do it. Right? So I gotta press on. I gotta press on. Right? I pray to God 10 times a day. I mean, guys, I say to God, why are you letting this happen? Why are you letting this happen to these children? Right? I don't, you know, they're innocent children, and not just mine, all children that's going to happen to them. You know, I asked God, I said, why? Well, I never lose my faith, right? I just asked the question, like, you know, I pray to God so hard every day, day in, day out, and it seems like the more I pray, it seems like you know, the more in depth we get with this stuff, like, you find out more, it's never ending. It doesn't end. Like, you know, we always have faith in God, always, right? And was the only other thing that we got left to hold on to for hope, right? And I mean, you know, let's think the last time I ever spoke to Owen, how long has it been?
Last time you spoke to Owen, so Owen's your son.
Owen, my son,
Yep.
and my girls, I haven't spoken to them in a year and a half.
February 2021.
Haven't seen him. Haven't touched him. Haven't talked to him. Nothing.
Where he had to leave and go into hiding, so they got to see me right up until January passed. But for him, it's been longer.
And from what I'm after here, from Christian and stuff like that, I mean, he always says, you know, how's my daddy? How's my dad? I just want to go back. I'm trying to go back to Newfoundland with my dad. And anytime he talked about his dad, that was another thing in the visit rules that the visit would get cut off. They weren't allowed to talk about your dad.
So when you were in visits with your children, if the children asked about their father, the visit would be cut off.
Correct.
And what was their justification for that?
Because they said that they were, I don't know. I just said, I don't understand why we can't talk about it. And she said, well, they don't want to talk about it. And I said, they're the ones bringing it up, but you're asking me to redirect the conversation or my visit to be cut off. So I said, you're making me alienate my kids. You're letting that, you're giving that job to me.
Yeah.
Because the more they stop Chrissy from talking about stuff, the madder the children would get. Say, Mom, how come I can't talk about your friend? How come I can't talk about my dad? So this is CS the sixth game.
Oh yeah.
Turn the table, see?
Yeah.
You know?
It's absolute. What they put you through, particularly in those visits with your children, is absolute, forgive me, mind fuckery. Like it's psychological torture for not just you, but your children.
But we feel like he's obviously hacked comic, you know. If he's like you have you're bipolar because you're up, you're down, you're up, you're down, you're up, you're down, and that's how you feel like. It's like what these people try to do to your mind, right?
Yeah.
But now we're used to it. Well, I guess it's something you never get used to, but we know their game.
Yeah.
We're a lot smarter than that now.
Yeah.
All right.
Because they used to say the kids were allowed to bring it up, but you have to learn to parent them where you have to be able to redirect the conversation when the topics get hard. And I said, but I'm your mom. I'm supposed to be able to hear them out and help them, right? And she said, you can't fix everything. That's not the role we're asking you to do. And I said, I didn't say I could fix it. But certainly a parent tries.
Yeah.
But I said, you're asking me to shut them down in their emotions all the time. So then the kids, over time, used to be so angry with me and be like, Mom, are you lying to us? Why are you keeping things from us? So it was severe parental alienation is what they made me create and put my children through.
Yeah.
Where I had enough.
Well, to deprive you from your children, to not allow you to hug your children in the visits, to then say we're cutting the visit short if you get emotional, that's like so abusive, psychologically abusive. Like what loving parent would not be emotional in seeing their child 1 hour every how often, separate to their other children?
Yep.
Like you're human loving parents to cut any emotion off because
that would be absolutely inhuman.
Yeah.
And completely detached. It's almost like you gotta go in there and you gotta go in and visit death and mute with a fake smile on your face. The visits were fake to me, but I wanted to be with my children, and it was like you knew that they wanted so bad to talk about things.
Yeah, like we couldn't hug the children without a visiting supervisor being like right here.
And then they say, that's enough now because we don't want any whispering. So then it got to like, hey, talk to them. You're just sitting there and all you can talk about is weather. It's a very fake. It was hard.
Well, it's designed to cut the emotional connection between you and your children.
Yeah, well, it's like when I was in Newfoundland and separated from the children, regardless of stuff Chrissy set it off on occasions that I will send a video and have the kids sit over on this side of the computer and the visiting supervisor on the other side and see my face and probably I had the audio on a bit saying, look, I'm here, I love you, I'll never turn my back on you.
And I used to do that and get in trouble. But I took the risk just so the kids knew that he was still around and then he wasn't gone. Like he was still thinking about him, and then you think I always took his course.
Well, I used to purposely go down by the ocean and do an audio because we're Owen is in love with the weather and the ocean and all that stuff. And so I said, Daddy's still here. Daddy's waiting for you. All right, and it gives him hope also. Okay, there's my dad, right? at least if I ever go home that day, knowing that, you know what, he see me dead and I'm okay. They see the ocean in the background and they say, look, you know what, I'm here waiting for you. Right?
Mm.
You know, it's so heartbreaking. I mean, I can't explain it.
Yeah, well, it's something only another parent who's been through it can absolutely imagine. And how many, like, there's not a lot of parents in the world who've been through, unfortunately there's too many, but there's not a lot that have been through what you guys have been through and are still going through.
Yeah, and I mean, I still wake up as having nightmares, right? About the apprehension stuff like that. You know, and see my son, only 6 years old, being carried away by a police officer, put back to the police car, right? And I had about 10 police officers around me in the circle on the front lawn the whole time that we were there. They wouldn't let me in the house at all. And then when they took Owen, I ran towards them, just give him a hug, and they tackled me to the ground. And one of the officers, I can remember, he had a British accent, and he put a gun to the back of my head and said, "I'll blow your fucking brains out if you move." Right? And there was another guy. He had his knee in the middle of my back, but the gun pointed straight to my head. And one of the officers that was there, a female, she was actually pretty nice. I was talking to the whole time I was on the front line, and she went to university in Newfoundland. She actually ran over and said, "Listen, I know how these people are and how they work." She said, "He just wants to come over to hug his son. Goodbye." And she said, "No." She said, "Don't move, Chris." She said, "Don't move." She said, "He'll shoot you." Right? And there was probably about, I don't know, 8, 10 guys on top of me. They grabbed me by the neck. I had hold of my arms, hugged him. They grabbed me by the neck. And I dropped Owen, right, onto the ground. And that's all I heard was Owen say, "Is my daddy okay? Is my daddy okay?" And he said, "I'm sorry, Daddy." I, you know, and I'll never forget that. I mean, PTSD. I mean, there's going to be something beyond that, because you know what? I live it every day. Every day I live that over and over again. Every day, right? It's so torture, and then you know that your little girls, they urinate themselves, you know, and they hug you, and they hug you with all their might, saying, "Daddy, what's going on?" Right? How do you explain that to a child? I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And see, is what they do. They had so many police officers there, and such a commotion. They give the community perception that, okay, you know what, these are like big drug dealers or big time
Yeah.
criminals being taken down. So everybody's like, you know what, there's something going on with these many police officers there, but they give the community perception.
That they're going to say children are these terrible people.
I had my business out in the garage. I was going to go out to take the kids with me. As soon as I went up through my back door, they had 2 cars with the noses of their cars pressed up against my 2 garage doors, so I wouldn't get out. And they had police officers surround the whole backyard outside the yard. Right?
And you guys, just to clarify, no criminal records, no history of violence prior to this.
No, no.
Yeah.
You know, yes. I mean, I got into trouble when I was a kid. I was
Yeah.
a teenager, right?
Yeah.
When I was a teenager and stuff like that. And I mean, the only aggressive style of me, yes, I'm an Irish, and I played rugby for 20 years, right? And I played a very physical sport, right? And you know, and I hung around, you know, with not such a good crowd, right? But I mean, that doesn't make me a bad person.
No.
It doesn't
No.
make no.
And And here's the thing, you don't have to defend yourself to me. I'm just asking, to say it verbally so people actually know. Um, uh, sorry, I've had so many questions because people are dying to have clarification around this. The investigative journalist that I spoke to this afternoon, um, he worked in Israel, he worked in China. He knows, you know, he knows about this kind of high level case and escalation. Uh, People are saying, can't you get us a human rights lawyer? You guys, how many lawyers have let you down? Like,
Around 9 to 10 lawyers, or 10 right now.
Yeah, we're 10 now.
yeah. And you guys have been left destitute by this.
Yeah.
Living
Well, the way it is now, what else? I mean, I actually go into a lawyer's office and say, listen, cut the shit, right? This is the way it is. This is it. Are you going to represent me, yes or no?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And they won't take it, but
Well, they do take the money or whatever it takes to do, and then they cower it out after, right?
Right.
You know, because there's no lawyer here in Calgary that actually has has any fair access to justice or anything like that. No, it's not those things.
So that's my apartment. I believe that.
Yeah.
So, and you've gone to everyone, like you've gone to, every area of the system that you could go to. You've been to MLAs, who have, and
Oh, sorry.
the bottom line, like I keep getting the feedback, no one wants to help you because they know how deep this goes and how dangerous it is. And that it's not just about losing livelihood. In cases, it's about losing their life. And people, like you told me about one lawyer, not related to this case, but she went hiding out in Australia because she feared for her life.
Yep.
Based on a case like this.
And there's another one that's publicly known. They took down this lawyer. He was from Ontario. He came here to help. And I just put that out there. Actually, if people want to look it up, Google the genocide, the 7 Mohawk babies, and the same judge that I had to deal with, some of the same workers from CPS that we're dealing with, and the reporter had to leave Alberta because he's red dotted. If you actually read that story, it's very similar.
Explain to people who don't know, what does red dotted mean?
Shoot to kill.
Shoot to kill order.
Yeah.
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 And this lawyer, he fought the system and came up here specifically for this family. And when he got back to Ontario, he was terrorized. They had him clinically noted as insane. They had his license ripped from him, his practice. They put him through hell.
So
that's a publicly known case. If anybody wants to look that up, and that's only the tip of what this is. It's the tip.
Well, that's like the second PGO trial that we had. I mean, that's like Linda Thorpe that we're going to be talking to. She witnessed it. I mean, we got arrested for no reason after court, and we were put down in a jail cell together. I was strip searched, and I had to go. I said, "Hold on a second, you guys cannot do that." And it had my ankles, it had my wrists shackled. Then they wouldn't explain why we were arrested. Linda and another human rights person came over and they said, "This is why they're being arrested." They would not explain. And I mean, we were brought downstairs to the Calgary courts, and like I said, we're in a holding cell together first, then they separated us. They brought me way, way down in the back of this. It was huge down there. I mean, there's so many cells down there. And they brought me way, way down the back, and there was absolutely nobody around. And I was the only one in this corner and this hallway, and put the cell with my shackles and on my ankles and my wrists. I was there for 5 hours. They wouldn't explain to me why I was there. And when they did release me, I'd say probably about 10 sheriff officers came down. They escorted me out. They wouldn't explain anything. I'm like, I want to know why I was put there. anyways, they took my clothes. They put me into the garage that was, I think it was a parking garage, all police cars, government cars aren't in my bare feet. They threw my clothes outside the garage, told me to get dressed outside. And as I was getting dressed, they told, I said, where? I said, where? I said, where is Christine? Oh, she's coming out now soon. I said, where is she now? I said, I'm not leaving her until she comes out. And I mean, I kicked up a pretty big stink there. But anyways, as I was getting dressed, there was a vehicle came out, all blacked out vehicle. Chrissy was in the back of it, but she couldn't get my attention. So they carted her off, and they lied to me, saying I should come in, and I stayed there for almost an hour after. I didn't have no cell phone, no nothing. I had to ask someone on the street to call me a cab, right? And I was all night looking for her, and they had her in Spy Hill, right? So that's when I thought Chrissy and I were gone. I said,
Wait,
okay.
Can you just say that again? I didn't understand.
When Chrissy and I went in those holding cells, and
Right.
they wouldn't tell us anything, they separated us.
Right.
That's when I thought we were going to be gone.
When you were going to be disappeared.
Disappeared, yeah.
So
I thought for sure. I kicked up such a stink, it was unreal. They wouldn't tell me anything, and kept me in my shackles in the cell for 5 hours, and they said that's routine. I should watch keep a person inside a cell with ankle shackles on and wrist shackles. But I thought that day that was it. I wasn't going to see Chrissy again, right? Yeah. So I don't know how they released me. They just opened up the doors to come out and be released, right? And I forced them, I just went down. They threw me out the garage with my clothes and told me to get dressed.
So Christine, well, this was going on. You weren't strip searched or put in a cell shackled, were you, or were you?
Yeah, yeah. And I was searched twice at the Spy Hill jail.
Sorry, I need you to speak really clearly because it's a bit muffled. So
they searched you in the Calgary court, yes, and they kept you in shackles and cuffs and holding, and they transported me to Spy Hill jail.
Spy Hill jail.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on.
And they processed me on 12 warrants.
12 warrants.
Correct.
For?
They said there were 6 that I may be in possession of crystal meth.
Oh.
And the other 6 was that I may be trafficking drugs. But I was never arrested for it, never got caught with it, nothing. Like, I've never done drugs in my life. I've never been in trouble for drugs, never been of a suspect for drugs, nothing. So I had to fight that through court.
You had to fight that in courts as well. 12 warrants, 12 charges, trumped up charges.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they just disappear.
And then they just disappear.
Yeah.
So we've seen this all along in the last 2.5 years of people getting fines and charges, and because there's no base for them, they're not founded on evidence.
Yeah.
They're not legal. They just go away, but they're designed to break you.
Yeah. Well, you know what? For somebody with that many warrants and charges, supposed charges, somebody should be in jail for almost the rest of their life.
Well, I think we know a lot of people should be in jail, but unfortunately they're too powerful.
Yeah.
And that's what we're dealing with. So anyone who questions them, you know people within the system who tried to help you, who lost their jobs.
Yeah.
So what they do is they try and intimidate people like me who want to actually help you. That's their MO. Yeah. And you had third-party confirmation from someone today that they will be targeting me. Okay, so, but can they target 1,000 me's? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
1,000 me's from around the world.
Yeah, exactly.
We just need help. I don't know what kind of help, but we need help. We need our children need to be saved.
Yeah.
We need to help.
They need to come home now.
Just want to bring them home.
This is enough. This is enough. I mean, those children, whatever what we have left in them, we want to save. We want to save at least a piece of them. So, I mean, they have some type of life.
But I will say this because I know they're probably seeing your videos. We're not giving up.
No, we're not giving up.
We're not going nowhere.
I thought
It might have broken my heart. It might have taken my heart, but you know what? I'm coming. And we're not stopping.
no, I told these evil sons of bitches, I said, listen, you know what? You're going to remember this face forever, right? You're going to remember this face. I said, I'm telling you something right now. I said, I'm coming for you. And I said, we're not stopping. We're not stopping, man. It was on the disclosure saying that we're, I don't know, one of the hardest families that they ever had to try to take down. Well, guess what? We're back again. Right?
So can you actually say that again? That they actually said in the court documents. Can you say that very slowly and clearly?
It was in the first, I think it was the first disclosure.
It was written by Clayton, the assessor.
Yeah, he said that we're one of the hardest families to ever take down, or probably the hardest family to take down. But they said to other co-workers, they said, congratulations. Right? Yeah.
Right.
But say Clayton's last name, I can't pronounce it. Abernathy or something.
Yeah, Nazi, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna wind up the recording of this piece. You know, I have a naive hope that your children will never see this video, but should they ever see it, I would love you to actually send a message to them right now so they can actually.
Mommy, Daddy loves you guys, and we haven't stopped loving you, and we're not gonna give up. I promise.
Yeah, I love you guys, all my heart. I'm so sorry that you had to go through this. But I promise you that Mommy and Daddy are going to do everything possible to take these people down and try to get some type of freedom for you guys. I love you with all my heart. I'm so sorry, Owen. I'm so sorry that you had to go through this. But Daddy will always love you no matter what. No matter what, Daddy will always love you. I'll always be there for you. Always.
So the last piece I just want to leave you with, and I know it's not satisfying for you to hear, but I don't think you're ever going to take these people down. I don't think you're going to take people down, but I think the wish of hoping to get your children back, you're much more likely to get your children back than to have them taken down. So I would just love to put out to the world collective support, and we are taking this around the world. Return the children.
Please.
Return the
It's
children.
all I want. It's
Yeah.
all I want is my children.
Yeah.
I don't care about anything else.
Yeah.
I live in a tent for the rest of my life. I just want my children.
Yeah.
I just want my children back.
Okay. Well, Christine and Chris, we are so sorry collectively. I've had our outpouring of people. I had two women separately email me and say one woman had to pull over on the side of the road, but they both vomited after hearing your story, that it impacted them that strongly. So know that you're not alone. Know that you have people around the world. This is not just Canada. People around the world know your story now. Their heart goes out to you. Their prayers go out to you. And we can only pray to get your children back. Like the justice piece is God's deal, but let's get your kids back.
I want to say thank you so much for any support and the people out there who's after reaching out. I thank you so much and God bless you.
Yeah.
But listen, I beg anybody out there to help us. I beg you. I don't know what I can offer. Probably eat your dead for the rest of your life. I just want my children back, and anybody that can help. If there's one person that can bring this somewhere or do something, I said, you know what? I'll be so happy. Please.
Okay. Lots of love to you both, and thank you so much for being so brave on behalf of your children, and fighting for them. You know, a lot of people would be broken by now, but you guys, you know, have strength that not many people have, and I don't say this lightly, but God bless you.
God bless you. Thank you.